talk about what it means to be a powerful generator. When I use the word power, what I don't mean is old seven-centered strategic definitions of power, which really mean how to be powerful over somebody else. This is about how to be powerful in yourself as yourself. The generator type, sacral beings, those who have a defined sacral center in the body graph, generators and manifesting generators, you are here to know yourself. That is the grand point of your life. That's what you're going to have a response to. Things that help you figure out who you are. Sacral beings, their signature is satisfaction. And the most satisfying life you're going to have is living a life as yourself. Now, how do you figure out who you are? You know, all generators have this question of, who am I? And it's through their response that they figure out who they are, what's for them, who is for them, where is for them. What does response really mean or feel like? Ultimately, it is a forwardness or a yes or an acceptance of the body that is saying, I can create here. I can generate here. I can create a life force energy here. When there is a no response, and a no response is different from a lack of response. When there is a no response, I don't mean no response, I mean a no. You're having a no for what you're responding to. It's going to feel like contraction, withdrawal. It's going to feel like a little death, in that there is no life to be found. There is no life to be generated. If you are a sacral being, you have a resonance to what I'm saying, in the sense that you know what it is for you to know that you have energy to invest in something. And you know what it is to go, no, I don't have energy for that. Now, what you might not know, and it's probably why you're here, it's probably why you landed on this video, this is going to be a very supportive video for helping generators define their boundaries. Boundaries, standards, rules for engagement. Some people will go as far as looking at it like a manifestation list. You know, when I think about a manifestation list, if I look at what I think most people are trying to communicate when they're talking about the idea of manifestation, I don't mean in human design, I mean out in the non-human design world. When we're talking about manifestation, in many ways you can reduce that into this idea that you want something, you believe that you're deserving of something, and you don't want to settle for something less than that. It's a raising the bar in some way. It's a what you think will be really, really satisfying for you to receive. Now, what gets in the way of most generators having that satisfying thing, receiving the thing, and having the yes for the thing that really will satisfy them? What gets in their way is their own lack of standards, lack of boundaries. And where that really comes from is a lack of self-worth, a lack of self-love. People will sometimes use phrases like, you know, a permission slip. We're going to give permission. You don't need my permission. I'm not your authority. Nobody is your authority. You are your own authority. And specifically as a sacral being, there are only two centers that can possibly represent your authority. Either the actual sacral center or the emotional solar plexus. Those are the only 2 out of 9 centers in the body graph that will be how you make decisions about what you're going to accept or decline. Now, the sacral is the one that has the response. But if you also have a defined solar plexus, you have a little bit more of a complicated process where not only are you looking for a response that, yes, I can generate here, but you're also looking for clarity from the solar plexus. As in, you have this extra aspect of you that makes you feel things in what we call a wave. Sometimes you're high, sometimes you're low, sometimes you're neutral. And how you feel about engaging in that thing that you're having a response to or not will shift according to where this wave in the solar plexus is. But it's not the solar plexus wave itself that is changing the decision. It's the information that you're getting from being in these different points in the wave and what is happening around you. You know, if somebody were to say to you, you know, would you like to be in a relationship with me? If you are just a defined sacral and you don't have a defined solar plexus, you're going to have a much more immediate response to either like, yes, I have energy to be in this relationship, to build a relationship with you. I would find it satisfying to build a relationship with you. Or you're going to have a, no, I don't have energy to build a relationship with you. I would find a relationship with you to be frustrating. I can tell. Now, if you have that defined solar plexus, there are more levels, more information, more awareness to be gained. So it might be like, ooh, I think I might want to be in a relationship with you. But what are you like for me to be around when I'm in a high? When I'm in a low? Is it still going to be a satisfying relationship for me when my mood is changing? There is that extra layer of data. You know, people with a defined solar plexus, they have more cyclical and yet unpredictable kind of moods. And you want to make sure that you're feeling good in both places before you commit your energy to what that person's asking you for. In this case, it was building a relationship with them. Now, when I'm talking about how to be a powerful generator, when I think about what that means to be a powerful generator, this is someone who is able to generate. They are comfortably and consistently able to commit their energy to things that they have energy for, that they can sustain, that ends up in them feeling their satisfaction. When I think about what it is to be a powerless generator, I think about a generator who doesn't know what they have a response for. When they have a no response, as in, no, I don't have energy for that, they take on that task or that work or that job or that commitment anyway, and they end up incredibly frustrated, depleted, burnt out, exhausted, because they're not generating energy for it. When I think about being powerless, it really feels like low energy, no energy, and not knowing how to change that. When I think about powerful, it means knowing how to make that energy. And it's not like knowing how to, like you're not making anything from the mind. It's not intentional. It's not knowing how to make that energy is knowing what you are and engaging in the things that you know will make energy. It means knowing yourself well enough, being committed to the things that you have a yes for, and having next to no tolerance for getting involved in things that you have a no for. So let's touch on why generators attempt to do things when they're having a no for something. And what that comes down to is conditioning. Now, I'm going to be very, very light on my technicalities and terminologies. But when you're looking at your body graph, whatever center you don't have defined, let's say for example, you have an undefined head center. Whatever is undefined are places in you where you are more open to being conditioned by other people around you. So if you have an undefined head center, the not self of that is worrying about things that don't matter, getting stuck thinking about things that don't matter. And I will say, in the grand scheme of things, generators who overthink ultimately feel like powerless generators because they have their response for something, but rather than leaving that as it is, trusting that, making that the definitive answer, they start to think about things. They start to rationalize. They start to become mental, logical, processing, and they think that this is the best place to make their decisions from. The mind has nothing to do with how much energy you're able to generate. And it's generating energy and putting it into something that ultimately is going to get you your satisfaction. This thing actually creates energy. If you want to sleep really well as a generator, you need to put your energy into the things that you're having a response for so that you can actually use that energy up, so that you can fall into bed not terribly exhausted, but perfectly depleted. That's what you're looking for. You want to run that tank down to empty, and that's when it's time to go to bed. And that bedtime might not be what we perceive bedtime to be. It might not be like, a 9 p.m. or a 10 p.m. or a whatever. Like, we have very conditioned bedtimes on the planet. You could really eliminate the idea of bedtime altogether. You use your energy until it's gone, and then you sleep. You rest, you nap, you recover, you regenerate, so that the next awakening you have, next time you get up, you can go respond again and go put your energy into something again that feels really satisfying for you. Now, generators are not meant to go through life alone. There are some times that we advocate sleeping alone so that you're conditioned and programmed appropriately, or eating alone so that you can not compromise on how you're meant to nourish yourself. But in the grander scheme of life, generators are not meant to be alone. Generators are meant to have symbiotic, reciprocal relationships. And the two types that they're going to do that the most with are other sacral beings and projectors. I'm a projector. I exist ultimately to guide the sacral being. The projector type didn't come in until 1781, and we're here for a very specific purpose. Projectors have the ability to grab your magnetic monopole. It's inside your G center. We're the only aura type that can do that. And when we do that, after you have recognized and invited us, basically after you have asked us and provided consent and provided compensation, which ultimately are variations of energy. We are non-energy types. Projectors are non-energy types. You're the energy type. This world runs on energy. In order for me to have access to the energy required to live my life in the world, I need symbiotic relationships with people who are compensating me because, in this world, money is an alternative for energy. But I'm getting a little off the point. Kind of, sort of, not really. Generators are here to be in communion with others. And the point of this is so that they can be asked, so that they can have a response. Now, when a projector is recognized and invited, given consent to guide a generator, what we really do is ask penetrating questions so that you can have a yes or no response, so that you can learn who you are, so that you can learn what you have energy for, so that you can learn what will be satisfying and sustainable for you to commit yourself to. If you want to be asked deep questions, in particular about your purpose here, projectors are the ones here to do that for you. But you can be with other sacral beings. And I honestly get such a kick out of this when I witness this with my son and his friends. My son is a manifesting generator, a sacral being, and he has many generator friends. It's not hard to have many generator friends as a generator. Y'all are 70% of the population. The majority of the planet is a sacral being, are sacral beings. There are plenty sacral beings for other sacral beings to get into relationships with, to have communion with, to work with, to parent, to have kids. Like, there's so many different relational dynamics. But 2 generators in a room is a lot of responding. It's a lot of light questions back and forth. You know, let's say it's about figuring out what you want to do that day. If we have 2 generators in a relationship, they tend to ask a lot of questions. Like, it might be, oh, do you want to have coffee? Uh-huh. Oh, do you want to have some breakfast? Uh-uh. Do you want to go for a walk later? Uh-huh. Do you want to go shopping? Uh-uh. It's like we can figure out very easily, at kind of a bit of a surface level, what each person has the energy for that day, what's going to satisfy them to do that day. And they say, and when I say they, I ultimately mean Ra. I mean Ra. He says, let's just call it he says. Ra says, generators together are the most honest relationship on the planet, because ultimately the correct response doesn't even really require a lot of words. It's a lot of like it's more about noises of confirmation and affirmation, or noises of decline or rejection. If you don't feel like a powerful generator, you know, as a projector, this is where I start to come in with these more serious questions. If you're my client and I say, do you feel like a powerful generator? And you go, uh-uh. And I say, okay. Do you have people in your life that ask you questions? You know, maybe they're thinking, well, I get asked things, but maybe not the things I really want to be asked, you know? And when I hear that's my sign as a projector, dig deeper, ask differently. Do you feel like you have quality relationships in your life with people who respect your answers, who ask you respectful questions and don't argue with the answers you give them? That usually gets people to go, ugh. Because one of the first things that happens with a generator when they have a response, whether it's or however that sound comes out, so often that generator is expected to explain and defend and rationalize their answer for why they do or don't have energy. And that explaining and rationalizing takes them back up into their mind, takes them back up into their head, and it takes them out of their sacral response. If you're a powerful generator, then you have people that not only ask you things, but they respect the answer that you're giving. They don't make you explain yourself. The answer is what the answer is what the answer is. You don't have to justify it. Now, I said earlier, this was a video that was meant to give you support. And while some of you may feel like you're getting permission slips, you don't need my permission for what you have a response to or not. And I really want to expand that so that you understand you don't need anybody's permission for what you have a response for or what you don't. let's say I were to ask you, would you like to sleep alone? And you go, uh-huh. Immediately you think, oh, my partner's not gonna like that. My partner might feel abandoned by me. My partner might want me to justify and explain this. And you go from, feeling empowered in your answer of like, yeah, I would like to sleep alone, to suddenly going up in your head and thinking, oh, and God forbid, you've gone into solar plexus territory, afraid of truth and confrontation. And you think, oh, I don't want to explain that, and I don't want to hurt somebody else's feelings, so I'm just going to avoiding the truth. I'm just going to avoid what feels good for me, so that I can make somebody else feel better, so that I can prioritize them. And you may think that that is a good quality or a noble quality, but let me explain why you have just done a disservice to both people. When you have a realization through your response that you don't want to do something, don't have the energy for something, you have a no response for something, but you follow through on it anyway. Let's say the example is a friend asks if you would like to go for lunch, and you go, for whatever reason that is. The first thing is that you go, ugh. So we acknowledge that right off the bat, we recognize this as a no response. Now the mind kicks in immediately and starts to come up with a bunch of reasons why this was a no. Oh, I had a bunch of other things I wanted to get done today. Oh, I don't really like hanging out with that friend. Oh, they're just gonna say a bunch of negative things the whole time. I can't really afford to go. Like, whatever the reason that you're having a no for, truthfully, it doesn't matter why your mind is telling you why you're saying no. What matters is that your sacral said no. Now, for some reason, you go for lunch anyway. And you think to yourself, it's important to them. Or, I'll make it quick. Or, I'll just get it over with and I won't need to see them again for a few months. Or, they rarely ask me to come. If I say no, they'll probably won't ask me to come again. Whatever the reasons are, they don't matter. What matters is that you're about to take that negative sacral response, which puts you in a place of non-generating, out of your power, and frustrated as a not self theme. And you're going to take that for a lunch date with your friend. Now, depending on who your friend is, you're going to have a different impact on them, whether they're a projector, another generator, a manifester, a reflector, but they're not the only people that are going to come in contact with you on that lunch date. What about the people serving you your food? What about the people sitting at the table behind you? You need to think about who is in your auric space. Now think about how far your hands extend and then double that. If you walked into that restaurant with your hands double the length that your arms double the length that they are, whoever you touch is going to feel your frustration. They're going to be potentially brought down or drained by the fact that you're not in a good place to be there. You're not responding to be there. You're not satisfied to be there. You're not generating energy to be there. At the end of the day, you're not only doing yourself a disservice, ultimately by lying to yourself, consistently overriding your own boundaries, but you're doing a disservice to the people that you're coming in contact with. It's not true that it's just nice to go ahead with things for other people that you don't want to be doing. It truly isn't nice for them, and it's not nice for you. If you're having a no for something, but then you're going out and doing it anyway, it's time to look a lot deeper into why you're doing that. One of the easiest places to look deeper into why you're doing that is to look at the body graph again and look at where you are undefined. If you have an undefined head, are you doing it because you were trying to turn off the thoughts about it? If you have an undefined ajna, is it because you have this need to be sure of something? Is it your undefined throat? Are you seeking attention? Is it an undefined spleen and you don't know how to let go of things that aren't good for you? Is it an undefined ego and you don't know your worth, you don't know your value, and you consistently feel like you need to improve for other people's approval or you'll be abandoned? Is it an undefined G center and you are consistently looking for love and direction and home and belonging? Is it an undefined solar plexus and you're avoiding hard truths, you're avoiding hard conversations? Is it an undefined root center and you just want to be free of the pressure, you just want to get things off that to-do list? Which one of those, as I said them, were you like, ugh, ugh, ugh? Because the truth is, those centers don't even have to be undefined for that to be a problem for you. If you want to be a powerful generator, what that's really going to look like is having enough self-respect for what you are, what your sacral is responding to, and following through on it, committing to it, no matter what the answer is. If you have a yes for something and you follow through on that, you're going to be satisfied. If you have a no for something and you respect that and you don't try and participate in something you don't have energy for, you're not going to end up frustrated. These are very, very simple, basic mechanics. But just because they're simple mechanics doesn't mean that they're easy to execute. I don't know how old you are, but I can tell you that you've had a lifetime of conditioning that has told you that it's not okay for you to follow your internal response. And I can also tell you that if you've made it to human design, you've made it this far in learning about yourself, this is just further support that you were looking for. These are the tools. This is the strategy for you to get better at this. Self-love, self-respect, self-worth will give you the confidence you need to play with these mechanics, to play with the strategy, to play with your authority. And I bet that the more that you honor what your body is telling you, the more powerful you're going to feel.